It's a hold down, what you know now. Breaking you round town, girl, let's calm down. That's where your knees, they belong. Cause I'm a king up on my throne. If you give me my knees will be grown. Exponentially, dog, with the flow. I keep it moving like the waves in the seas. Still doing this shit, nothing but breeze. I surround myself with a few breezes to give me ease. I do it how I do. Just make sure you eating your stew mixed with the peas. It's your boy J Thoughts here once again. And as always, hit those favorite buttons of mine. That's that like, that share, that subscribe. Of course, I had to bring back Miss J Shontae. We got another excellent topic of discussion. Get that good input. So, J Shontae, go ahead and say hi to the people.
Hey guys, it's your girl J Shontae, CEO of Legacy of Mary, where we keep the legacy on your lips. Nice to hear from y'all again.
Absolutely. So I had a topic that hit me. Oh damn! Did you fell down the stairs? What happened?
I did. I got too excited.
Let's pick up the pieces. Let me get an ace wrap for her real quick. Get the knee brace. So we can start cooking. I had a question, and it's going to be multifaceted, right? There's going to be a lot of topics within this question, but I want to start with getting your perspective on this question, right?
Okay.
So I think we've probably discussed it at one point or another in small talk, but conversation of today is, what are the red flags that disqualify women from getting the men they want?
What are our red flags?
What do you believe are women's red flags that women are not aware of? That men will see those red flags in a woman and they will disqualify that woman for getting with them. And we're talking about the men that those women are looking to get with, right? The men who do qualify for these women. Those men have a set of standards that they look for in identifying whether to put a woman in just a fun category or taking her serious category. So there's some things that women do that disqualify a man from taking them seriously. What do you think some of those things are?
Okay, so for my journey so far, after meditating and thinking about what I've done wrong, I know insecurity. I didn't realize that men actually find that unattractive, like when you don't have confidence and they find out that you put on a fake confidence. And then also manners. I didn't know that was a red flag that men actually pay attention to. Some men said you need to say good morning, and most women just start talking. I didn't realize that was a red flag. And what else? Appearance, like when you don't keep yourself up, when you're not showing that you love yourself. Those are red flags that I think men just get turned off on, and they just kind of walk away from.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the hammer on the nail. Is three things I believe, right? And we've talked about this before, is I think there are three categories that men look to group women in when assessing their potential quality. For example, physicality, personality, and mentality, right? Sound like Jesse Jackson. The physicality with the personality and the mentality, right? So you touched on all three, I believe, right? Their physical appearance. Let's start with that. So what physical appearance do you think would disqualify a woman from getting her potential mate?
Now that I'm learning physical, and I thought physical was only because they want their woman to look good, but no, when someone works out and takes care of their body, that means that they take care of themselves, meaning they'll take care of him and they'll take care of their children and so just being fit, and whatever fit looks like to each man. And then also how she carries herself outside. If she goes out in a bonnet, that means that you don't care about appearance. And a high value man, or a man that actually takes care of himself, he wouldn't walk out like that. So why would his woman, So that's what I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And fit, right? It's relative depending on the man, but generally speaking, most men have an overall assessment of what they deem as fit or in shape for the woman. Now, obviously, every woman is not the exact same size. There are some women that are 5 foot. There's some women that are 6 foot. Most women are 5'4" to 5'5", right?
Right.
So if we're taking in generality, because if we pick, Brittany Griner, who's 6'8", I mean, this is kind of like an outside, you know what I mean? That's not really the norm of what men come across. Most women we're going to come across are anywhere from 5'3", 5'4" to about 5'6", 5'7". That's most of the women, right? So given that proportion, most women are looking to be of a certain weight within that height range, right? A height to weight ratio that's acceptable.
Right.
Men will work with it. They don't look for, a size 0 all the time. But like you said, when a woman builds a pattern and a habit of keeping up her nutrition and her fitness and her activity, that says more about who she is and how she views herself. And in the long term, what type of culture and influence she's going to pass down to their children.
Right.
And so if she's already got that going for her before he meets her, then he can just tack on and maybe build that up and even increase, as they move down the path together. Right. So a man can see, all right, she don't really know exactly what she's doing here in the gym, but she be in the gym. She be watching what she do. Watch how she eats. She does drink water. She does take care of her skin. Keeps her hygiene up. I can get with that, and we can go ahead and do some big things, and I can show her some new stuff, right? Ideally. And so it's how it speaks to the other elements of what that woman does. The physicality, like you mentioned, is a physical representation of her personality and her mentality. You said confidence. So I kind of want you to go a little bit deeper into what does insecurity look like for a woman versus what does confidence look like in her behavior?
So I can only speak for me. I know that I kind of fumbled the bag with one person because I came across confident when he met me, but then as he started to get to know me, I needed him to validate my insecurities. And that's unattractive to a man because it's like now all I do all day is reassure you that you're beautiful, reassure you that and it kind of made him not want to deal with me. So when you have true confidence, you don't need him to validate you. It just shows throughout you. You love yourself. You don't need him to constantly tell you that you're beautiful. You don't need to be clingy on him just so you could be in his face. You got the dude, So I don't know. What was the other question that you had?
Well, so let me clarify because I think I understand the gist of what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But let's be careful about the word selection. Meaning, when we say that a man is going to be constantly validating him, I agree. That could be probably draining for the dude at some point. It's like, man, how many times can I tell you look good for you to not believe me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But let's not cap like a woman does not seek validation from her man in some form or fashion, right? You do want that validation. We all need the validation from one another or our significant other in a relationship. It's just the manifestation of what that validation looks like is different for people, depending on what particular insecurity those individuals have going into it. So I would ask you, as much as you're willing to share, what exactly were you insecure about that you were needing constant validation from that man?
Well, what I'm working on right now is my insecurity of me being a dark-skinned woman. And so that's something that I'm very insecure of. And so he literally sent me pictures like, I think you look better than this girl. And I'm like, really? Because she's light-skinned. And when he heard that, it kind of like blew his mind. He was just like, and I kind of felt him like pulling away, like, dang, she's insecure. And of course, I'm like, from a distance, I'm fit, but I don't feel like my body is where I want it to be. So of course I bring that up, and it's like, I don't have a problem with your body, so why do you keep bringing it up? So it's just those those unnecessary comments that I would make that probably drained him. Like, I'm hearing, so that's what I felt. And I think that's why he pulled away.
Okay, so sometimes, and I don't know the situation you're alluding to and this gentleman you was dealing with, right? But this is for you and for the larger audience. And again, my goal in this channel is to give the male perspective in an articulate break it down in a simplistic fashion and get you to potentially see maybe what we're overlooking as women when we're trying to evaluate men. It'll be a good way to get the actual man's perspective who's willing to say some uncomfortable things, to maybe think and open up your mind to, oh, okay. And then you'll start to look retrospectively in previous relationships and say, oh yeah, that's exactly what happened in that particular situation. All right. Mm-hmm. So when a man, well, let's start with you. When you know in your heart that physically you're not to the level you need to be to feel comfortable with who you are. That goes for any person, male or female. When a man knows he's not physically in the condition that he needs to be, it may feel good for his woman to say, no, you look good just the way you are. But it's not going to change how we feel about ourselves inside. Right? So a lot of times men would tell you what you want to hear. But if he was being completely honest, he would know she's right. She does need to get in better shape. But we don't feel at liberty to say that to you, because then now the onus can be placed on us. The blame is on us now for making this situation come to light, right? In other words, if I speak on the elephant in the room, it's bad. But if you bring up that there's an elephant in the room, it's not bad. Until I say, hey, there's also an elephant in the room. You go, you don't want to be the one to state the obvious, you know, and you as in men, we don't want to be the ones to have to say what it is when everybody else can see what it is, yourself included. If you know you're not in shape, you don't need me to tell you you're not in shape.
Right.
You just need me to help you get the solutions. But we cannot get a solution until we're honest about the problem. So a lot of women will say, oh, insecure. Newsflash, every single one of y'all are insecure. It don't matter how you look. That's just your nature. Right. Your nature is doubtful. That's why you need validation. It doesn't make you less of a woman. It doesn't mean, oh, the woman who doesn't need as much validation is just light years ahead of me in confidence. A lot of times women mistake arrogance and confidence. They take what they believe a male displaying confidence as that's the way they need to display confidence. True confidence in a woman is not without a need of validation from her man. That's actually the opposite. It's arrogance. It's delusion. It's self-aggrandizement, right? And it's placing yourself higher than what you are. So when you hear women typically talk about, I'm confident and I don't need a man's validation, typically those women have a inflated sense of who they are in terms of their value to men. Or they're basing their confidence off of men they felt in their heart they were better than. That's why those type of women typically speak a certain way when it comes to the men they've dealt with in their life. Like, for example, again, we're talking about red flags that disqualify women from getting the men that those women want. Not the men that those women don't want. Not the men that those women feel like they dealt with, but were better than them while they were dealing with them. We're not talking about those. We're talking about, why do you not have what you want? It's probably for one of these reasons. So in the previous video, I've alluded to the 5 elements, right? Young, attractive, in shape, childless, and pleasant. Typically, women are disqualifying themselves for one or more of those elements when a man is identifying whether or not to take her seriously. Again, let's move off the table just getting dick, just getting some pussy. Let's move that off the table. That's not what we're talking about, because that level of standards is not the same as a standard that I would have for someone I'm trying to make my wife. Make sense?
Yeah.
I don't care if she's childless or hell, not even as pleasant as she needs to be, if I'm just trying to smash. Because I know once I hit it, I'm dipping anyway. I don't need to deal with her.
But if this is somebody I'm choosing to want to deal with, a lot of times women who are complaining that they're not getting those men that they want to deal with is for one of those elements. But also not inflating their ego. See, a lot of women like to tell themselves what sounds good to them, and then they would repeat it outside to a man who's masculine and honest and realistic, and he can hear the cap in her voice. He can hear her trying to convince herself out loud while we're listening in. And she thinks that we're all just going to believe that Santa Claus still exists because she believes he exists. Some people have figured out before her, oh, it's just a mythical white man with a beard that fly around with reindeers and shit. That's a fantasy. But to some people, that's still the reality to them, right? But at a certain point in their lives, they have to become privy to reality. They have to get enlightened to what's really going on. And to some of them, most of them are children, let's assume, it's uncomfortable for them to hear that truth.
Right.
So, red flags that disqualify the men from they want, or the men disqualify the women from getting the men that they want. I'll tell you, number one is women don't listen. Women do not like to listen. Women always claim that they're the better communicators. Women claim that they're more emotionally intact and mature than men in terms of their emotional IQ. All of those things that they like to say that are good buzzwords. But in practicality, when it comes time to do active listening and communication, which is bi-directional, a lot of women who claim to have those sophistications do not know how to conduct themselves in simple conversation.
Yeah.
And so as a man who's had to talk to multiple women, have to figure out what he's doing wrong or figure out the best approach for these types of girls in this type of setting, in this type of context, with this type of energy, looking this type of way, saying these type of things, we have to figure all of that out. But you don't have to figure that out to get men to approach and deal with you. We have to figure out how to approach women, because I can't sit back and twiddle my thumbs and then expect bad bitches to just roll up on me and shoot shots. It's not realistic, right? So a lot of times when these men are talking to women, the first thing that they notice is that they have poor listening skills. A lot of women will respond to a question that was never asked. This happens so often that men get jaded, and then what happens is they'll just let the woman ramble because they don't have the energy to keep interrupting them and re-steering them in the direction for him to get the question answered that he's trying to get answered, so he can better understand where to place you moving forward. Okay, I like this woman. She's attractive. She seems to be, easygoing. Let me open up and have a dialogue with her. And 5 minutes into that dialogue, he figures she's just like every other woman when it comes to conversation skills. Right? Some women will either be too attentive. They'll just listen, and they don't know how to articulate themselves. So they want the man to reveal all the answers for them. Or there's a woman who thinks she knows everything and constantly talks over him. Right? So off the bat, what's going to separate most women from the remaining of the pack is her ability to listen and communicate correctly.
Okay.
What are some other red flags you think?
I think I don't know how to word it, because sometimes we kind of compete with the man, especially if we have a career that is noteworthy. We want to make ourselves better than the male. I think that's a red flag for men too, bragging about what we do and stuff like that. I don't know. I just feel like that makes sense. A red flag.
So one of my notes I put here was thinking, and this is for women, thinking that your money and your education make you more desirable than your overall appearance and attitude. right? Money and education versus appearance and attitude.
Yeah.
Which pair is more important to the men that you want?
I don't think that money, appearance and attitude would probably be more, because I want a masculine man. If I wanted a feminine man, then he probably would care about what I do, because I probably would be the boss anyways. But I want a masculine man, so I think appearance and personality would be more important.
Absolutely, because like we said, there's 3 elements: physicality, personality, and mentality. Right? Money and education doesn't really fall into that. You could say maybe your mentality if you're educated, but educated in what is the difference? You may waste your time getting educated in something that has no benefit or value to the eventual man that will choose to be with you. That's the problem. You can become educated in what's going to give you the best possible outcomes with the men that you want. That's the education we're looking for. We don't need you to flex your credentials and degrees on us, because we all know if a man does that, what do we think about that man? He's what? He's what?
I don't know.
I would
say if he flexed his credentials and stuff on me.
Yeah. If he always talk about his money, his education, his degrees and all that, what would you think about him?
I think he bragging. He got an ego. He's showing arrogance, and it'll eventually be like, okay, you know too much. And
so all of that is showing what exactly? That's showing that he's possibly insecure, right?
I didn't see it like that, but yeah.
So it's
and so it's showing an insecurity.
Yeah. It's like, you remember the Shakespeare saying there was like, oh, methinks he doth protest too much or something, or she doth.
Yeah.
So he was basically telling, he was dry snitching.
Right.
Because he was doing so much to try to talk around and divert their attention from what the real issue was. The person who picks up on that be like, oh, I think he kind of telling on himself right now.
Right.
I graduated top of my class and I'm summa cum laude and I got a degree and a PhD and da-da-da. When you hear a man talk like that, you be like, why does he feel the need to like throw all of his credentials out? You know what I mean? Like, I think he probably insecure.
Right.
Right? So what do you think men think when women do that?
That they're insecure. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. So it's a turnoff. It's a turnoff. And that's to your initial response when you talked about confidence versus insecurity. But when we go down the path and we break it down, what that actually means to men, a lot of times it's the opposite of what women think. For example, we know lesbians, right? We know super masculine women. Not all lesbians are masculine, but we're specifically talking about, the dykes, right? Like the butch. Right. Why do masculine men make fun of those? You know why? Because they take what they believe to be the characteristics of masculinity and then they boost that on 1,000. But true men can look at that and say, she's clearly overcompensating for the fact that she knows she can't compete with men in this arena. She can't do what we can do. So what's she gonna do? She gonna be like bigger, you know what I mean? She gonna have like a dude haircut. She gonna have a deeper voice. She gonna try to use the same swag and vernacular that players do. You know what I mean? She gonna wear baggy ass jeans and J's and dress like a dude. Dress like a teenager.
Right.
Big chains, gold teeth. Young Ma, right? Young M.A.'s type shit.
Yeah.
And we looking like, you're a chick. You'll get fucked messing with me.
Right.
I see the box underneath all of that.
Yeah.
You still a chick. Right? What about gay men? What about gay men? There's some gay men that act like, you and me, like it's just regular, right? But when you see the gay men that just take a caricature of what they think women behavior is, and then they boost it up on 1,000, true women looking at them like, y'all can't do what we can do. You trying too hard. What does that speak? That says insecurity for me.
Yeah.
So when you read between the lines, a lot of women aren't going levels deeper than what the surface is showing them. That's why men can do surface shit and still get women. I could pull up in a foreign. I could take her to a dope ass hotel. I could take her to a dope ass restaurant. I could act like I'm cool dressing in rental clothes. You know, my whole swag is rented. But I can trick her because on the surface level, it looked like I'm really doing some shit.
Right.
But if that woman really looked deeper than the surface, she could be like, this ain't really adding up. She start doing the math like, how does he do? And he does what? Like, for how long he did do it? And he's how old? Like, where's he getting all this random money from? Like, this can't be legal. Or maybe he just fronting. He can't keep this up for more than 2 weeks.
Right, that part.
It's a facade. Right? So that's why men lie and women wear makeup. Because we just trying to trick each other on the surface level. Oh, baby girl, I'll give you the world. I'll do this and that for you. I'm lying to you.
Yeah.
Because I don't need you. You won't have to go any deeper than that for me to still be able to secure you. To secure your interest at least. Right?
Yeah.
So, red flags that are disqualifying. We talked about insecurity, confidence, or lack thereof. But also what some of the overt behaviors are actually saying when you look deeper on the surface. Your money and education does not matter to the men before your overall appearance and attitude. It doesn't mean having money and education is a bad thing. It just means it doesn't take precedent over your appearance and your attitude first. Because most women who lead with the other side don't have the appearance and attitude. To the men that they want. They can get by running that game on men they don't want or don't deem as valuable as the men they do want. They may settle for those dudes, but the men that they're like, he seems to be like, he's right there, but he out of my reach. Why can't I get him? Because you keep leading with shit that he doesn't care about. Another one. Having bad influencing friends and or family.
True.
So a man will meet you. He'll see the homegirls you associate with. He'll see the beta male friends you still keep in your male space for validation. And he'll go, this is going to become a problem for me if she and I are to unite and try to build something together moving forward. There's too many external influences that will divert her attention away from us and away from me, right? So a man who's worked his way up to a certain status, in his mind, he believes that he deserves a woman's undivided attention. But if a woman is divided, then he can't add with her. Because there's too many people subtracting. Right?
That's true.
It's math. It's math. She's got X, Y, and Z over here that's going to take away from her. Energy is not destroyed. It's merely transferred. So the energy that you would be putting towards your man and your relationship, that energy is being dispersed amongst several other little distractions outside of him and outside of you and him. So a man who's dealt with enough women can see that, oh, she's going to become a headache. She's going to become a problem, or I'm not going to get her full undivided attention. I'm only going to get a fraction of who she is while simultaneously being expected to give her my 100%.
Right. Oh, yeah.
The math don't add up. Right? There's no balance in that.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
I see that, and I kind of see why also like men. You said childless, because when a woman has a child, he definitely isn't going to be number one, you know? So yeah, I get that. But then on the other hand, women are going to expect the man, oh, you're not paying attention to me. Oh, you da da da. So Yeah, I think that was good insight right there.
Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels, right? He alluded to this concept. He
Did
says,
he?
well, why should you expect a man to give you 100% of him when for the rest of his life, he's going to have to share you with other men that you've procreated with? In some form or fashion, you're going to still have to deal with the father of your children. So he knows I'm coming into a situation where there's some other guy that's leaving his mark in my household, and I got to look at that every day and be reminded of what somebody else gave you instead of me. I've got to worry that constantly. If anything were to really blow up, I could have one, potentially two, potentially three other men at my neck for some he say, she say shit.
Right.
Why would I work my butt up to get to a certain point to have to even deal with that voluntarily? Right? So now we mentioned the 3 out of the 5. And so then a woman that has children is like, oh, well, I'm just screwed and I don't have any hope. No, because you and I have talked about this. What have I said? Men will take 3 out of the 5. If you can get 3 of those, you may not be able to get the top tier dude, but you still can get quality dudes, right? We know that in baseball. If you go up to bat 10 times and you only hit 3, you're still deemed as a great baseball player. Why? Because the game is so difficult. It's so difficult to be able to hit a ball being thrown at you at 100 miles an hour, that if you can hit it 3 times out of 10, you're pretty damn good. Right? So if you can get 3 out of those 5, you still have a good chance to get you a quality situation. What women fail to realize is that they don't find out which 3 they bring and boost the hell out of those 3. Because you can only control what you can control. Let's say a man wants all of that and you're like, oh, I'm all of those things. And he's like, and I want her to be from Thailand. You're like, well, shit, I ain't Thai. Well, he'd be like, well, sorry, can't do it. Well, then that's not in your control. But nobody's saying that. They're saying young, hot, in shape, childless, and pleasant. I didn't say anything about a color, a race, an ethnicity, a culture, because that spans across everywhere.
Right.
If you can have those 5 things, you can pretty much have any man you want. So now if you say, okay, well, I don't qualify in the hot category. I'm all right, but I'm, in shape, I'm pleasant, I'm nice, I don't have kids. You can still damn near get any man you want.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, well, I'm cute, but shit, my body out of shape. I got a couple kids, but I'm cute in the face. I'm nice. I still got some youthfulness to me. I'm pleasant to be around. You can still get a good, decent dude.
Right.
The problem is that the women who know they don't qualify in certain areas only focus on the areas they don't qualify for, or they pretend like those areas don't exist. They pretend like the men don't see you in one of those 5 categories. Because again, it's not about what you think about yourself. It's about what we decide. You can think as much as you want to think about yourself. You can be confident in whatever that means to you and all that. Great. More power to you. But if we run across you and we're like, nah, you ain't that, then it's what we think. You're not going to convince us to buy this Pinto when we came to buy a Mercedes.
Right.
You're not going to sell me on some shit I don't want. It's up to me, the buyer. Right? What's another red flag? What do you think another red flag is? We touched on a couple of them, and stop me if those don't make any sense. But
no, they make sense. Another red flag that men see in women. I don't know. I don't think we touched on the ones that I know. What about you? Like, can you tell me some more?
Okay, we know this one, right? No accountability.
Yeah.
How many times have we gone on a date with a woman for her to talk about her past relationships, and always paints her exes in the negative light. She always paints herself as the victim in the relationship. Or let's say you're with a guy, you're in a relationship with the guy, you clearly did something wrong, he called you out on it. How many women do you know that a guy will say, hey, you did that wrong, that was disrespectful, and then a woman goes, you know what, you're right, I apologize, I was out of pocket on that, do you forgive me? Like, I won't do that shit no more. How many women do that immediately? Or how many teeth do you have to pull? How much tussling do you got to do to eventually get her to acquiesce and kind of say it? Never quite give you that satisfaction, right? I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of apologizing. That's ego. But what it really is insecurity.
Yeah. I can see that.
No accountability.
Yeah. I mean, because I know for me, I have to start catching myself doing that too. Because the first thing I want to do is, like, when I'm caught doing something, I want to make an excuse. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we'll make a sad excuse to try to get the person to, like, forget about what, like, try to make it okay of what we did. And it's just like, no, just take accountability. You was wrong, and just apologize and keep going. So
we see this in work. We'll see men be like, you know what, my bad, boss. I'll fix that. Won't happen again. Even if he didn't even mess it up, he's speaking for his cohort. Yo, I messed up. Hey, I'll take the blame for that. And I've seen women literally start pointing fingers via email, via da-da-da. Mm-hmm. Like, nope, I'm not going to take the L on that. I'm going to make sure it's somebody else's burden, not mine.
Right.
Immediately when women start feeling that accountability mirror being held up to them, there's a knee-jerk reaction to divert, deflect, and project. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they'll display passive-aggressive behavior because they can feel the walls closing in. Oh, shoot. They're on. It's like a magician who just outed his trick, right? Mm-hmm. Or who didn't even realize his trick was outed already. So he's putting on a performance, and everybody in the audience is like, bro, he don't know that the last magician already showed us this trick. We already know how he does that. We're not falling for that.
Right.
But he doesn't know that we know. So he's just going through his little trick. He's doing the dog and pony show, and everybody just sitting there like with a blank stare, like, man, for real? Right. He's like, what's wrong with y'all? It's because we seen this before. We know what this is. We not falling for the okie doke. So then his knee-jerk reaction will be to get defensive rather than try to understand, well, how'd you guys know that trick? Or, you know what? Maybe I need to come up with a better trick. Perhaps I need to step my game up.
Right.
I can't be mad at somebody for knowing something I didn't know that they was gonna know.
Right. You
ever had your kids tell you something? You be like, damn, how did he know that? How'd she know that?
Exactly.
It throw you off. You don't go, oh yeah, you're right. That's it. Your first knee-jerk reaction is to question it. Like, who does she?
What's going on?
Right. Because you're not expecting somebody to already be hip to the game.
Yeah.
So a lot of women aren't expecting us men to be hip to their games.
Right.
So when they do it, it's like, oh, that's what you're doing right now. Here's what you're doing. You're doing page 1 of that. That's the table of contents. I've already read this book. I wrote this book. Right. You're on chapter 1, ma'am. I explained that and I broke it down in 3 pages.
Right.
Oh, you think you da-da-da-da-da? No, ma'am. I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
I know this book already.
Right.
You running the same script on everybody. We done figured it out.
Right. It's crazy because now that I've changed my mentality, I'm exposed to different kind of men, and because I'm exposed to like more mature men, more masculine men, they expose me all the time, and I just be like, I be having those reactions like, wait, what? Like, you can see me? Like, you can see what I'm doing? And they'll call me out on it. But the other men, I was able to get over a little bit because they honestly only just wanted the box, and they weren't mature enough to even care about like little things like that. They just let me do what I wanted to do and manipulate them. Or at least I thought I was manipulating them. They probably knew the game too.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing is like, there's men that just don't know the game. We get it. I'm gonna work on those dudes, right? And that includes myself, because learning new nuances and elements to the game, that's a never-ending concept.
Yeah.
But once you get to a certain requisite level of classes in college coursework, it's all review at that point, right?
Right.
Once you're in this particular honors class, you've already taken the required prerequisites.
Right.
So everybody in this class already has a certain level of understanding as to what's going on.
Yeah.
But if you just came up in this class day one and it's an honors class, you're going to be like, how do they know all of that? How do, ma'am, because you skipped a whole bunch of courses and thought you was going to catch up.
Right.
You got years of this game to get under your belt. We've been here. We've been doing the work. Right?
Right.
So there's a lot of men who just don't get the game, who haven't done that work.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we're not focused on those type of men.
Right.
Because then you're always going to be right. Yeah, if we're talking about ain't shit dudes, then yeah, you'll always be right about that.
Right.
But what about the men who are working to become the shit? What about the men who are the shit? What about the men who all the women want? Those men want something from the women.
Right.
My last one I'll leave you with I got tons of them, but the last one is not understanding a man's nature.
Oh,
Most.
So you're saying that men can if I'm trying to understand. So you're saying that a red flag is that a man knows that you don't understand how a man works.
Exactly.
Okay.
When we're talking to a woman, all you have to do is ask her probably, for me, it'll be one question. It's a very telling one question.
What's the question?
We'll get to it. But when a man can you're going to answer it. That's why I'm not worried about you. When a man is talking to a woman, he can tell if she's been taught about how men are.
Okay.
Your first teacher should be your dad, right?
Right.
Again, most women aren't growing up with their fathers, or most women are growing up with their fathers, aren't having their fathers break it down on this level, or most women are growing up with their mothers and their mothers aren't breaking it down on this level. So it's easier to learn this from your father teaching you, because he is a man, he pulled your mom and he made you. So he know what he's talking about.
Right.
But if he's not going to talk to his daughter in that fashion, he's not going to keep it real with her. He's just going to expect and hope that life teaches her for him, so he doesn't have to have those uncomfortable conversations with his baby girl. Well, he's only setting her up for failure.
Yeah.
Because especially the mom ain't going to be able to teach her the perspective of the men that she's going to be dealing with. She's only going to really be able to teach her the behavior of a woman that's beneficial for her to deal with, right? Yeah. Here's how you take care of yourself. Here's how you brush your hair. Here's how you do your female sanitation duties. Here's how you take your period when that start coming. Here's how you go bra shopping. Here's the panties you want to wear. Here's how you wash. Here's how you clean. Here's how you cook. Just doing things to become a self-sufficient female, right? But then when it comes time to mate and date, you got to get that male input in some form or fashion. And most women's input today is coming directly from the men who are already trying to sleep with him. So his knowledge and his information and delivery is going to be skewed to his benefit, not your benefit. It's going to be to benefit him. That's why when men talk to women who disqualify themselves off the bat from taking seriously, he doesn't just walk away. He says, okay, now how can I deal with her in a way that's directly going to benefit me only? I don't care about her no more. She's proven to me I'm not supposed to care or have feelings towards this female. So what I'm going to do is deal with her in a way that's going to get me the fastest outcome that I want from her. And we know what that is already.
Yeah.
So we'll let you tell on yourself. We'll let you talk all day. And we'll just go, and co-sign a bunch of bullshit. Get what we want. And then show you how we really feel about you afterwards. All right?
Oh. So what's the tell? What was the question, that you asked?
Okay. After this, I'm gonna drop the mic. All right.
No. Okay. Okay, go.
I'll give you a little anecdote. So I was I was a trainer. I was training one of my clients at the park one day, and another girl saw me working with this lady I was training. All right. So afterwards, we left, and she came up to me. She was like, "Hey, I saw you doing your thing. Da da da. Are you still looking to get clients? What have you?" So we started working together. We went out to eat, and I asked her this question. She was younger. I asked her this question. I said, "Who's stronger, men or women?" And we had this whole damn song and dance. We talked all around it. And it was so ironic to me is that this woman deemed herself as a strong woman. Okay, cool. More power to you. But generally speaking, who's stronger, men or women, right? And she couldn't seem to come to grips with responding that directly. So it tells me more about the inner turmoil and the inner demons she's wrestling within her own mindset, that she can't even find it in her heart to be honest out loud to someone else.
Oh, wow.
Who's generally more nurturing, men or women?
Women.
You see how there's no hesitation with you saying something where you know you excel in?
Right.
But when you ask a woman who's stronger, men or women? Well, what do you mean strong?
Exactly.
Well, it depends. Like, are we talking? You start getting a bunch of song and dance. Yeah, I mean, men couldn't go through that. Why would they go through that? They're not women. That don't even make sense.
Our bodies wasn't made for that.
Yeah. So when you ask a woman that, if she don't give you a direct answer, and this goes to the men, if you ask a woman who's stronger, men or women, if she gives you anything else other than men, put her in the fun box. Don't take her serious.
Wow.
You ever had a conversation with like an elder, somebody like 60, 70, 80 years old, right? And you try to explain to them, Grandma, this is what's going on with the men nowadays, and da da da. And they'll say some random shit like, "Did you look at his left elbow?" And you'd be like, "What?" You'd be like, "If his left elbow is ashier than his right, don't take him serious." You'd be like, "Grandma, you crazy. What are you talking about?" But the point is, she's lived so much life and experience that she can reduce very complex subjects into something so simple, it go right over our head.
Right.
And then when we go down that path of acting like we're smarter than reality, and then it bops us in the head, then we got to go back to Grandma and be like, "Damn, Grandma, you was right."
That elbow.
Because what she sees is, again, she's had enough time to do enough math.
Right.
1 + 1 = 2, no matter how you slice it. And today's women really want you to just go with them when they think it's 3. But me and her have already agreed that it's 2. But because of today, how she feeling, she want me to just buy into it that it's 3.
Right.
The truth is the truth, regardless of what we feel about it.
Right.
So there are signs and indications that speak more to a person's mentality, physicality, and personality, that if you know how to reduce it to its simplest form, you can save yourselves a lot of time and headache. The problem is that a lot of men don't know how to ask the right questions. Because it's not the answers you have, it's the questions we ask.
Right.
If you really want to understand who a man is, you have to ask him certain questions that's going to reveal who he is to you. But if you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to ask a bunch of stupid questions and then wind up being more confused after the conversation. That's why as soon as a man asks a woman a direct question and she gives him anything other than a direct response, she's not ready. She can fake the funk for as long as she wants, but eventually that's going to come up at some point in the future and it's going to derail the relationship. And if a man doesn't pay attention to those red flags early, he only has himself to blame once it blows up.
Right.
If I'm telling you 1 + 1 = 3, and then I surround myself with other dudes who are going to tell you 1 + 1 = 3, I'm setting you up for failure when you get with a man that's going to prove to you that it's 2. Because there's going to be a conflict now within your own mind because you've been programmed on bullshit. So now when somebody's trying to break you out of that dream, you get mad at them for waking you up.
Yeah.
Not understanding a man's nature. In other words, men are not women. Our nature is different than yours. Stop filtering the way you think we should behave based on how you think you should behave. We are not the same.
And that's why I think it's important for us to have conversations with men and not just our girlfriends, because it's like we're not really getting anywhere. We're just going to coddle each other's feelings. Men are more direct, and they're just going to tell us this is what we want. This is how we feel. And you know, either you do something about it or it's going to take you longer to get what you want. But we're not ready. Some of us aren't ready for them conversations.
They really not.
Because we like the delusional world.
It feels better.
It does. I'm not gonna lie. I lived in it for a very long time.
We love going to the movies and escaping for 2 hours, right? Into this fantasy world. But when them lights come back on and it's time to exit the theater, what you got to do? You got to get back right to your real life.
Yeah.
And that was just like that was a feel-good moment for a brief moment in time. Now you got to get back to reality. Is your reality that uncomfortable truth? Or can it be a reflection of, you know, what you want your reality to be in a positive sense? Meaning that you shouldn't need to have to escape in a movie theater to feel good and then go back to a life where you constantly are doing bad stuff to make you feel bad.
Right.
Make your life the movie. But do what you're supposed to do to have the happy ending. But if you're not doing that, everything ain't just going to work itself out.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's work, and it's I feel like the first step is just to being self-aware, and that's something that I was not good at, being self-aware. I would make excuses for why I was overweight. Oh, because I'm stressed, I have kids. I would make excuses for why I didn't do the wifely things I did. Oh, because this and that. Oh, I'm so busy, so I can't cook every single day and stuff like that. And it's like, no, you can, if you want to do it, if you want to make that your reality, you can make it your reality. You know, so
absolutely. You said the key word is work, right? Why do you say when we talk about a previous relationship, they say, hey, you know, so what happened with you and Jonathan? You'd be like, oh, it didn't blank out. It didn't what?
Work out.
It didn't work out. Why when you go to the gym they call it blank out?
Work
out. Why when you got to get up in the morning you got to go to what?
Work.
Right? It's about work. But when you hold the microscope up to a woman and you say, hey, there's some things you're going to have to blank on. What do they call it? You're going to have to work on. It's all about work. Work.
Right. You know what I find crazy too is that like women, especially a lot of women that I talk to, when you talk about work, like money work, they'll do whatever. I'll stay late for work. I'll travel here for work. But then when you're like, you got to work on yourself to get a relationship. Well, why can't a man love me the way I am? But it's like the same energy that you put in work. And you wanted this dream job, if you want this dream man, it's going to take the same effort of work. Like, you know, how come you feel like the man has to settle for you, but you want this certain kind of man? He shouldn't have to settle for you, and you not settling for less. He not giving you less. Like, you know, he's working. He worked to get where he is. So, you know, and I look, you know, to a lot of women, I probably look like I'm a pick-me, but it's like, no, I'm not a pick-me. I just choose to understand that it's going to take work to get the kind of man that I want. But if I want to settle for any kind of man, then I'll give him a settlement. You know, he can get whatever. So
what's wrong with being a pick-me in your mind?
I don't find anything wrong because I feel like you want to get picked. Everybody wants to get picked. That's just something new that they put out there. Like, oh, these pick-me women. You want to get picked too. That's the reason why you're saying I want a man. You want to get picked. So
yeah, no, I mean I agree, but you immediately shot it down when you just said that. You said, "Oh, it's not. I'm not a pick-me." Like you said it as if though it would be bad if you called yourself that.
It seem like as if I'm only doing things for a man. No, I'm doing things because I love myself. And me loving myself is going to reflect on who the men that pick me. So, but I don't know, they're making it seem like being a pick me is wrong, and it like that's an insecurity of mine now, is that women see me as a pick me because I choose to walk outside dressed. Like yesterday, for instance, I was going to a comedy show and I showed what I had on, and everybody's like, just to go to a comedy show? Like, and I'm like, you never know who's there, and you should always dress up when you go out, you know? But again, because they're giving me the mentality like I want to be a pick me. Like, I don't know.
All right.
It's just a
so the women that call you pick-me's are trying to keep you in a pickless position with them.
Pretty much, yeah. I never saw it like that, but yeah, like
crabs in a bucket.
Yeah. There you go. I didn't see it like that either, but yeah, that's pretty
misery loves company. Right?
Yeah.
Cat Williams said it. If you ain't got haters, you ain't doing nothing right.
Right.
So the pick-me's, or the people that call you pick-me, are the haters that are reminding you you're doing something right. So stop caring about why they're calling you a pick-me and focus on the fact that the reason they're calling you a pick-me is because they're hating on the fact that you're going to eventually get picked.
Right.
And they're going to be reminded of not getting picked. So if I'm around a bunch of women and we're all single, you know, if we're all women and we're all single and none of us got no man and ain't nobody getting picked, that's comfort for us, right?
Right.
But then the one woman in that group that's telling y'all, maybe we should consider what they're saying. Maybe we should be more feminine. Maybe we should stop interrupting and talking over the men and start listening more and asking them what they want out of us and then becoming that. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we probably might get better outcomes.
Yeah.
The first knee-jerk reaction is going to be to talk shit about you. Because here's the reason why that's a whole thing anyway. The reason that they don't feel like they have to do any work is because they've been taught to believe that they're better than us. Why would a king be concerned about impressing a peasant?
Right.
He's up in the kingdom doing king shit. You're out on the streets working on the cobblestones or whatever. I don't got time to be worried about what you think. I got bigger fish to fry over here.
Right.
So a pick-me is a woman who's thinking like a queen. I've got bigger shit to fry over here. I'm not concerning myself with the opinions of these peasants. Not to say I'm better than you or any of that, but I use the analogy to paint the picture on the mentality and dealing with one another. Is that your mentality, and I'm saying you to you directly, your mentality, I can tell you off the bat, is different than the majority of the women you're associating with. Which is why you're starting to see that for yourself, and what you're doing, whether you see it or not, is you're gradually disassociating from that.
Yeah.
And you're going through the growing what?
Pain.
Right. Right. Because growth is pain.
It is.
No what? No gain?
No pain, no gain.
So if you're trying to gain right now, what you're doing is you're going through those growth pains. And you're like, damn, is this worth it? Because it kind of hurts. And then you see other people being like, oh, so you think you're better than it? Oh, never mind. I was on the right track. I'm doing something right. They think that I think I'm better than them. That means I'm actually doing the right things.
Yeah.
Lions don't concern themselves with the opinions of sheep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. So we said red flags that disqualify women from getting the men that those women want, not the men that they don't want. Right? So we said learning how to listen. Stop over talking a man. When a man is talking, be quiet. Because eventually he's going to be quiet for good. Right?
Yeah.
Not taking accountability. Thinking that your money and education make you more desirable than just your overall appearance and attitude.
Right.
having bad influencing friends and or family and or beta males in your orbit to give you constant validation and attention. These are red flags to the men that you want, and not taking accountability. So if a woman can understand that and filter that through the process of saying, okay, before I say this or respond, did I really listen to him?
Right.
Or was I just interrupting? Did I really try to understand his nature and why he's articulating these things to me? Am I leading with my wallet and degrees? Or am I putting forth a pleasant appearance and attitude? Have I disassociated myself from a lot of the fuckery and bullshit of my friends? And made a concerted effort for him to see that I'm making steps in the right direction?
Right.
Am I taking accountability when I talk to him? Or is my first reaction or instinct to always point the finger at somebody else? And keep in mind, the men that you're dealing with, they see you and they're factoring all of that in because it's math. They've done the calculations. They figured out the formula of what works, and they're just looking for the right variables to solve the equation. Are you that variable? So, with that being said, this was Jay Shontae,
Yay.
special guest. Go ahead and give him you said the legacy of Mary. You want to tell him a little bit about that real quick? What you doing with that work?
Oh, okay. The Legacy of Mary is a brand, and it's also a custom brand where we customize t-shirts, rhinestone logos. Hit us up on Instagram at Legacy of Mary, and yeah, that's about it. And then so whatever you need, we do custom glasses, novelty items, mugs, whatever you guys need.
Bet. And I've seen some of her work, so it's good. I was gonna hit her up for a t-shirt, and then I got another thing I want to hit you up about, so I'm gonna see if I can get somebody to do it.
Awesome.
But yeah, for sure. So Jay Shontae, this your boy Jay Thoughts, signing off once again. As always, hit that like, that share, that subscribe. We out.
Bye.